Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Is the House of Commons too boorish and too sexist? Debates broken out over sexism in Westminster. It started after the Spectator's Isabel Hardman tweeted that she had been called totty by an MP. That, she said, women shouldn't have to put up with. She went on to reveal the MP's name had been given to a whip and that an apology was on the way. But that wasn't the end of it. Today, the Daily Mail's political editor-at-large, Isabel Oakeshott, weighed in, declaring Isabel Hardman shouldn't have complained to whips over what seemed to have been a trivial incident. Quote, well, a short time ago, I spoke to Isabel Oakeshott and Ian Dunt, editor of politics.co.uk, and started by asking Isabel if she respects Miss Hardman's decision.
Well, I disagree with her. That doesn't mean I don't respect the decision she made. I think it's a judgment call, and she took a very drastic decision to go to the party whips. That's like calling in the kind of party police, if you like. I feel that there would be a variety of other ways that you could deal with an incident like that, which wouldn't involve sort of pressing the nuclear button.
So are you saying it's okay for men to be sexist towards women?
I think it very much depends on the context. In simple terms, no, of course not. I don't for a minute want to suggest that I'm condoning sexism, but there's a question of context here. Now, if this comment had been made in a boardroom, say, I think it would have been entirely inappropriate. If it had been made in a formal interview, I think it would have been entirely inappropriate.
This is a member of parliament talking to a member of the lobby. I mean,
trust me, we get worse every day.
Okay.
I mean, this is nothing.
All right.
It's a really trivial.
But what, as you said in your piece, the mistake that she made, Isabel Hardman, that she ran to the teacher and basically, you know, complained to the teacher. I think that was the wording you used. So let me talk to Ian Dunt. Was that the mistake? Should she have just responded in a private capacity, you know, on the street or wherever the initial remark was made, and that would have been that?
No, she didn't make any mistakes whatsoever. The nuclear option, the real nuclear option, is what usually happens with these events, which is that someone takes to Twitter and they try to start a pile-on and whip up this sort of moral outrage against whoever it was that made an inappropriate comment. That is the standard way that these things are dealt with, and that is the nuclear option. Isabel Hardman was very moderate and very restrained in the way she went about this. She did not name the person on Twitter, and instead she followed formal channels. And she should be following formal channels because the repercussions of treating women in this way is formal. They are made to seem as less than their male colleagues, and that has professional consequences.
Isabel
well, hang on a minute there. Actually, she did take to Twitter. That's precisely what she did.
But she didn't name the MP, did she?
She did. Well, I don't know how the name of the MP is circulated.
But she didn't name the MP?
Absolutely not. She did not name the MP, and that was very noble of her.
And what do you think, personally, should be done about the culture of sexism at places like Westminster?
It depends on where you are, but especially in these cases, if we just take a firm line with people when they have what they perceive to be these small actions. I mean, Isabel Oakeshott, that is, at the beginning of her piece, mentioned someone sort of pinching her bum at a party. I mean, that does not seem a small thing to me at all. I mean, that actually requires some form of disciplining, and the best place that can come from is from the party whips.
Seriously, I mean, yes, I was surprised when someone pinched my bum at a party. It was an MP. I've named the MP. I actually spoke to him before naming him, and he was fairly relaxed about that.
Were you surprised? Were you appalled?
I was not appalled. I thought, you know, this was at a party. It all comes down to context. If that had happened in a, I don't know, in a committee room or something, but this was at a party, you know, I'll put up with a lot in the business of getting political information.
Can we deal with that context issue, actually? Because when this happened to Isabel Hardman, this was not at a party. There was no drinking. This was not when there'd been some kind of, you know, jokey conversation that could have been misconstrued. This was utterly sober on a work event in the middle of the day. So actually, to talk about the context, that actually even makes it more pernicious, having this kind of treatment of female journalists. And it also, again, validates precisely the action that she took.
Well, I mean, perhaps I'm just not nearly easily offended enough. I think that in our business, you need to be pretty thick-skinned. And honestly, if I were to go running to the whips at every little thing that some MP said that offended me, I would spend my whole time toing and froing to the whips office.
I don't consider myself easily offended either.
Right,
I don't even believe that that is a real word that applies to things. I spend most of my professional life standing up to people who are professional offence seekers. However, this is not about offence. This is about a structural way that women are put at a disadvantage, particularly in the realm of political journalism.
Okay, so let me ask you, as a woman, Isabel Oakeshott, do you think it's okay to put up with sexism, with sexist slurs and insults, whether it's at a party or at a business meeting or on the street, if that gets you the story as a journalist? Because that's more or less what you're implying.
Actually, yes. I'll put up with it if it gets me the story, yes. Of course, if it crosses a line. Of course, if someone is grotesquely offensive, then I'll call them out on that. But my style, personally, would be to call them out on that myself.
There are many women that I've spoken to today who put racism on a par with sexism and anti-Semitism. Now, if a black journalist was confronted with a racial slur, if he didn't go to the whip to complain, you'd be surprised, wouldn't you?
I think you've touched on the absolute heart of this matter, which was your use of the word slur. I would not consider being called Totty a slur. It was designed, as I'm sure most people would agree, clumsily as a compliment, and that's the point here.
Got to leave it there. Isabel Oakeshott, Ian Dunt, thanks very much indeed.